Hello everyone, my name is Protasilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I will do some philosophy. I will talk to you about three important qualities in a person: integrity, consistency, and responsibility. And I will explain how those three, when we consider them in tandem, underpin a person's sense of honor. Honor not as a self appreciation, but in terms of how others in our milieu think of us. So we say, oh, this person is honorable. This is the idea. So I will explain how those fit together. To do this kind of video, I will be commenting on the analects of Confucius. The analects of Confucius are the sayings of the ancient Chinese philosopher, the ancient Chinese sage Kongzi, and in the Western world, Confucius. This is a book that I received as a gift from a friend of mine in China. And this book has the Chinese text. Let me show you. So there is the Chinese text. I think this would be modern Chinese. And below it is the English translation. And further down are some comments from the editor. Me, I tend to skip those comments because they can color my opinion, and I don't want that. I want to form my own views. And because sometimes I think they are really shallow, so they don't really say much anyway. Let me then start reading from this book, and then I will comment and elaborate on the theme of this video. Starting with 7.26. The master said, meaning Confucius, I can no longer meet a sage, but it may be all right to meet a man of perfect virtue. Again he said, I can no longer meet a finished man, but it may be all right to meet a man of constancy. There are people who pretend to possess much when they have none, who pretend to be substantial, though void, and who pretend to be affluent, though deficient. Such people cannot secure the quality of constancy. So what is this quality of constancy that Confucius talks about? I think, the way I understand it at least, Confucius talks about integrity, the quality a person has in being honest, the quality a person has in being committed, in being reliable. Think about it this way. We say that a person has integrity when they stick by the rules and when they do things without cheating, without fooling around. This person has integrity because they understand that things are not easy. They understand that by fooling around, by trying to cheat our way to success, we don't actually achieve anything. We may fool some gullible people, or we may temporarily win some prize, but we have not really mastered the underlying art, the skills that are relevant. Consider this example. Consider excellence in sport, let's say. So you want to have the perfect body. You want to have the Adonis athletic body. And you're like, okay, how do I achieve this? One way is to train hard, have a consistent diet, regulate my sleep cycle, be careful with all those things. And then after many years, I will have a nice body. That's the one approach. And the other approach is, you will think, I will find the easy way to it. I will find some pill or some magic supplement and maybe some device that works while I sleep or whatever, and I will be sitting on my couch watching TV and developing the perfect body that way. What do you think will happen? It won't work. But of course, we know that there are a lot of people who try to do that instead of going the hard way. And we know that all of them fail. The hard way is the only way. And the same is true for intellectual matters. Think about you trying to think things through or trying to elucidate your thoughts. One way to do that is by writing a lot, by reading a lot, by trying to speak and to be persuasive in your speech or informative. Another way is, again, to fool yourself into thinking that there is an easy way out and that you can just sit around, twiddle your thumbs, and somehow there will be this epiphany and you will be a wise person and you will have the kind of penetrating insights that everybody is impressed with. Again, it won't happen. What will happen is that you will just be a fool. And so a person with integrity is a person who also has consistency in what they are doing and thus is committed to the task long term. It is a person who is doing something again and again and again. And why does this person have integrity? Why is this person reliable? Because they are a known quantity. We, as people who will deal with this person, know what we are dealing with. We know that it's this person who does those things, and this is their level of output and the quality thereof. So we know what we are dealing with. But somebody who is haphazard and opportunistic, we cannot estimate. One day they say this and they do something else. Another day they talk big and then they underdeliver. So we don't know what are we going to get. So that person cannot be relied upon. And that person, because of their propensity to cheat, may be a person who also doesn't have integrity when it matters. It is not a person who will honor their word. Now you may say, okay, why should I be honorable? Why shouldn't I cheat if I have the chance? And the answer is because it's not about the goal, it's about your quality as a person. Let's consider again the example with the intellectual qualities. Of course, you may read something, you may hear some fancy words, for example, and you may repeat them at a gathering, at a party, let's say. So there will be a party, everybody will be drunk, and you will throw in some words which are, philosophical, super wow duper words. And people will be like, oh, wow, man, oh, you are so smart or whatever, you are so well read. You might actually fool those people because, of course, they are drunk. They don't pay too much attention to what you are saying, but you won't be fooling people who actually know what they are doing, who actually know what they are talking about. And more importantly, you won't feel good about it yourself because deep down you know that you are a cheater. And because you know you are a cheater, you know that you don't actually possess those skills. You are not a master of that art. But when you are a master of your art, when you know how to do those things, you are calm about it. You are confident. But confidence is not about pounding your chest. When you see somebody pounding their chest and being overly aggressive and loud, etc., you know that fundamentally they are hiding something. You know that this person is all smoke and mirrors, and when push comes to shove, all that will collapse. A person who has mastery of what they are doing is a person who doesn't need to be over the top. And again, it is a person with integrity. It is a person that you can trust. Of course, trust is not blind. I'm not saying that whatever this person does is saintly, but I am saying that it is a good approximation. It is a good indication that this person has something that we can rely upon. So I think doing things the hard way is doing things the right way, doing things the only way that they can be done for consistent output, for consistent success, for long-term outcomes. And I think this is very important. And it's very important, as I said, personally in our self evaluation, but also towards others. Because if all of us try to do our best and not try to mess around, well, we have a good society. And it's not about being world class, it's not about being the preeminent performer or expert or whatever in your field. It is about being as good as you can and being honest about it. For example, me, I do those videos. I don't purport to be the best philosopher that is alive right now or the best philosopher to have ever philosophized. No, far from it. I don't actually know and I don't actually care. What I do is to be the best version of myself. This is what I try to do. And I am honest about it. I learn from my mistakes. I will watch the video that I have recorded and I will spot an error or I will spot some mistake in language. And there is a common mistake actually I make where I want to say sit at the table and I say sit on the table. So it's a mistake that I make consistently. And I know about it, I keep making it. So I need to get better. So my point is that I am not trying to fake it. I am trying to be real about it. And it's not about being the best. It's about being as good as you can. And when we all are as good as we can in whatever it is we are doing, we have a decent society. A society where there is mutual trust, mutual respect. But when people are cheating and are fooling around, we lose faith in our institutions. We lose faith in the quality of our laws. We don't trust those around us. And this creates discord, this creates conflict. And then things are out of control. So being consistent, having integrity, is both a individual quality and then also a collective quality. A society that values excellence and rewards excellence of this sort is a society that is better than a society that doesn't care about excellence. And again, excellence is not about being the best in the world. It is about being honest and trying as best as you can. So this is 7.26. Let's go to the next one, 7.37. Let's see, what do we have here, folks? 7.37. The master said, "A gentleman is open and broad-hearted. A base man is always worried and sorrowed." Now, worried and sorrowed, a base man. So you may say, I do have these issues in my life. I keep worrying a lot. I keep feeling stressed. I keep feeling insecure. I keep feeling like an imposter. Does this mean that I am a base man, a base person? Does this mean that I am a bad person? And I think the answer is no. I think what Confucius is saying here is that you are a raw article. Like, you have a lot of refinement to do. Like, you are not yet consistently doing things. You haven't found your way yet. And so because you haven't found your way yet and you are just searching and you are doing a little bit of this and then a little bit of that and then abandoning that and doing something else and then switching to something fourth and so on, because of that, you haven't yet developed the quality of consistency. You don't have that kind of maturity to stick to something and to do it again and again and again. And this maturity, this responsibility, is what starts to contribute to your quality as a person. So, for as long as you don't have that, you are just going back and forth, and deep down, you are disturbed by that. There isn't like a strong foundation, an immovable basis to your character, to your outlook. And because there are shifting sands down there, of course, the whole apparatus is unstable. And this is made manifest as discomfort or stress or worrying about stuff and so on. Worrying, however, also has another dimension to it, which I think also relates to the idea of being a base person. I don't like base here as a word. I will say unrefined. And worrying about stuff is a sign of not being refined because you worry when something is outside your control. If you can control something and you still worry about it, then you worry about the fact that you have not put in the work. So you worry about the fact that you haven't actually committed to something long term. So why are you worrying instead of working harder to become better at that? That's the one thing. But if you are worrying about something outside your control, for example, if I am worrying, genuinely worrying about the weather, well, I am a fool because there is absolutely nothing I can do to affect the weather. It will rain. What can I do? I won't worry about it. Same idea for things that happen in our world. I cannot worry about the presidential elections in America, for example. I am not an American citizen. I cannot vote. Maybe I can say something and maybe somebody will listen to me and act accordingly. But that is a very far fetched idea. So, in practice, based on what I have, I cannot worry about this. Let it happen, and I will try as best I can within the confines of my milieu, within the confines of what I can affect, to make things better. But the point is that once you understand that for the things that you can control, you have to work hard to get better at them. And for the things that you cannot control, you have to learn to let go. Then you won't be worrying. Or at any rate, you will be worrying much less. And over time, with a lot of practice, you will stop worrying. And then you will be relaxed and easygoing. And there will be a certain lightness to your disposition. Because that lightness will be based on the understanding that one, things are hard, and two, we don't deserve anything. Like if we get something, we got it because we put some effort into it or we were lucky. But ultimately, whatever happens, happens. And whether we say that, oh, it happened because the universe conspired in my favor or against me, that is irrelevant because it is still something we do not affect. And so the few things that we do control, the few things that we do have an impact on, are relatively small. Small in the grand scheme of things. So we shouldn't stress about those and we should be relaxed about it. We try as best we can with the recognition that we are an inconsequential magnitude, an inconsequential factor in the grand scheme of things. And so the refined person will be a more relaxed person. And the unrefined person will have this sense of angst, this sense of being unsettled, of worrying, and of doubting, and of feeling lost. Let's see. let's continue, folks. So let's go to 8.5 now. Of course, the others are useful as well, but I am cherry picking them to expound on the theme that I would anyway talk about. As you can tell, of course, I don't pretend to be a scholar of Confucius. These are topics that I want to talk about, and I think there is a nice impetus here that is provided by Confucius. So let's read 8.5. So Zheng Zi said, so this is not Confucius, this is one of the disciples of the master. Zheng Zi said, a talented man seeks advice from the less talented. An informed man consults the less informed. A knowledgeable man looks as if he were void of knowledge. A substantial man appears as if he were insufficient. And a man cares little when offended. Such were ways in which a friend of mine used to conduct. What we learn here is that a person is humble. And what kind of person is humble? The person who knows how hard it is to do something again and again and again. The person who has integrity, the person who has commitment, who has responsibility, maturity, who does things as best they can. This person will show respect towards others because they recognize that it is not easy to do things well. Those who think it is easy are the people who haven't actually tried it. And you can consider a very simple example for this, like people will watch some sport, let's say football, soccer for Americans. So they will be watching football, and there will be this elite football player who, under pressure, shoots the ball and misses the target. And the guy on the stands will be like, hey, you idiot, you cannot kick the ball, are you completely useless, blah, blah, blah. It's easy, just, shoot it in the top corner. What are you doing? Are you a fool? And of course, we understand that part of fandom is to talk nonsense, but if we take that a bit more seriously, we will see that the person who says this hasn't actually tried to play the game at that level and see how difficult it actually is to shoot on target while being under pressure, while having to make decisions in a split second, and after running up and down the pitch for I don't know how many minutes. It's really, really hard. And so when you see somebody miss, it's not because they are an idiot or whatever, or because they are not trying, it's because it's extremely difficult to actually do it. So you have to recognize that. And the way you recognize that is when you yourself do something which you know is hard to do. Whatever that is. It doesn't have to be football, of course. It can be academic excellence, or it can be excellence when it comes to music or painting or accounting or whatever it is that you are doing. And again, excellence is not about being the best in the world. It is about being the best you can and trying to get better, or at least trying to deliver consistently. This is excellence. The rest, like being the best in the world or whatever, is a matter of being endowed with a certain talent. So it's basically being touched by God. And this is not up to us. What we can do is try the best we can. But whether we are the best or whatever, that is not for us to decide. And so here we see again the same theme coming up. So a person who has this kind of integrity is a person who will be humble enough to listen to others, to acknowledge that there are others around and that this person is not, the center of the world, he or she or whatever, doesn't have a big idea of who they are. They don't think too highly of themselves because they know that it is hard, and they know that as soon as they relax, there will be a degradation in their quality, in the quality of their work, in the quality of their output. So they have to keep at that level. They have to be consistent about it. There is, however, another side to this, and this is something that I experience myself regularly through my coaching, the work I do. There are people who come to me and they are like, "Thank you for this session. I learned, something, but you, meaning me, you didn't learn anything." And I'm like, "You are wrong. I do learn. I do learn every single time. I learn a different way of seeing things. I learn something that is outside my field of view. I learn how to communicate better. I learn what to stress and what to de emphasize. There are many, many things that one can learn. And this is true whether you are talking to an expert or to a beginner. You will always learn something. And then what matters is whether you have the humility to acknowledge the fact that you can still learn. Even if you are the preeminent expert, you still have the capacity to learn. You never are the finished article in an absolute sense. And again, this goes back to the point of having integrity. This goes back to the point of being an honorable person. A person who has this quality of maturity, of responsibility. And you show that to others, and you see in others the worth they have. And if they also put in the effort, they too will have honor of the same kind. Let's continue. Let's see what else do we have here, folks. So 8:13. Let's see. 8:13. It is here. Let's see. Let me hold this a bit better because it is there at the bottom. So 8:13. The master said, "Hold fast to your belief and learn diligently. Dare to sacrifice for a just cause. Never enter a state full of danger, nor dwell in a chaotic one. Come on and take office when right principles prevail in a state, and withdraw from a post otherwise. Take poverty and humbleness for a shame when living in a well-governed state. Take riches and honor for a shame when living in a badly governed one." What the master, what Confucius is saying here is again, basically, about integrity. It is the same idea. And I think we see this expressed in the idea of consider it a shame to have success and honor, etc., when the state is corrupt. So if you are receiving the accolades of a corrupt regime, well, what happens is that you too are corrupt, so you have no honor. And I think this is the gist of it. And when you are in a well-governed state, which we may also consider as a prosperous state, when you are in that kind of situation, if you are impoverished, then maybe there is something you did wrong, assuming this is a fair state, right? So in a fair state, in a well-governed state, why are you immiserated. What is it that has immiserated you? Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you have to be honest about yourself and try harder. But the importance is that this state is, of course, fair, right? If it's not fair, then we have other things to consider. And then it is about trying to do what is right, but also knowing when to engage and when to remain aloof. Because if you just throw yourself at the danger, you will expend yourself, you will be killed or whatever. It doesn't work that way. If you want to show that there is some quality in what you are doing, or if you want to fight for a just cause, you must also understand that you and others like you are not expendable. That you and others like you are valuable, and we cannot afford to waste anyone. This is the idea. And we are, or you are, valuable when you are like that, because, again, of your integrity, which goes together with consistency, which means long term, everything that I have covered. So you have all that which you earned through a lot of hard work, through rigor and commitment over the years. It's not something that was just bestowed upon you, was just given to you for free. Because if it was just given around like candy, then of course maybe you are expendable. But it wasn't given around like that, so you are not expendable. And so we have to have that in mind. But again, the theme is the same. The theme is about these personal qualities and their interpersonal extension. So you are a pillar of reliability, and others around you are like that, and together you have a more just, a more reliable, a more excellent society. Let's see, folks. Let's see what we have. And this is the last one, which is 8.16. 8.16. The master said, I don't know what will become of a man who is radical but not upright, ignorant and not prudent, seemingly sincere but not faithful. Radical but not upright, ignorant and not prudent. Let's start with the ignorant and not prudent part. Remember what we said earlier. When you are doing things consistently, when you are not cheating, you recognize how hard it is, and you have a certain humility in your outlook. So you know what your limitations are, and you are willing to learn. But when you have this inflated sense of self, this entitlement that you deserve things because of how smart or pretty you think you are or whatever, then you are not putting in the effort, and you are, one, overestimating your ability and underestimating the challenge. And so when you are like that, you are ignorant, one, but two, you are arrogant. You don't have the necessary grounding to be ignorant and humble, to be ignorant and use that ignorance as a motivation, as the impetus for learning, as the impetus to get better. You are ignorant and loud. You are ignorant and vociferous. And you are just talking big, and it's all smoke and mirrors. And usually the person who is ignorant and wants to make a point is a person who will make a point through force. They will be aggressive, they may be verbally aggressive, but they will be aggressive, they will be loud, they will be pounding their chest, they will be animated in such a way where you can tell that it is not the force of their insights that convinces you, but the manner in which they communicate those, which is a manner of domination. It is a manner of subjugation. And those people are, I think, unreliable, and when it comes to political ideas as well, dangerous. And this is how we have the demagogue or the demagogue, however you want to pronounce it in English. In Greek, it is demagogos. So the demagogue or the demagogue is the person who sways public opinion with this kind of theatrics, who will pump their chest, who will appear confident, who will talk big and promise everything, and then, of course, lead people astray and lead them to some disaster, as history has shown time and again. Whereas the person who understands how difficult things are is a person who won't talk big because they know that you are actually talking nonsense. The person who has integrity and who does things with consistency is the person who will say stuff after they have actually done it to see if they can do it. And this goes back to the example I gave earlier with the football player. If you actually play the game and you see how difficult it is, you won't be harsh on the player for missing the shot, for missing the target. Because you will be like, well, it's really tough. I know it because I tried it and I also fell short. And so it's the person who will not be over the top in their exposition. And this brings us to the point of the radicals. The radicals are people who are overly enthusiastic about an idea, any idea. You can find any idea, the most benign, the best idea you can imagine. Think about the idea of the Christian faith, which is about showing love to other people, right? You can take that idea, and if you are overly zealous about it, you can inwardly corrupt it into its opposite of hating others who are not like you, of hating others who don't agree with what you are saying, of hating others who have a different interpretation of the Bible, or who have a different way of seeing the world altogether. And again, this is something we have seen in history. How do you think we ended up with holy wars? How do you think we ended up with crusades? How do you think we ended up with this forced conversion into a certain faith? And not to say that Christianity is the only one, but giving an example. The idea of love the other person, a benign, a very good idea. But you can take that, and if you are overly zealous about it, if you are radical and single-minded about it, you will definitely turn it into something which is not love anymore. And the same is true for all ideas, and the same is true for every ideology and every political agenda. If you are not willing to entertain a different perspective, if you are not willing to see things from another's vantage point, you will do harm, and you will be doing harm because you don't have that humility in you. You think that you are just too good, you are just too smart. And this is something that we see in politics all the time. Like, whichever political group you take, they think they are the smartest and everybody else is an idiot. Like, oh, they are the others, oh, they are idiots. They don't understand what I, the clearly enlightened person, have understood, and that is why they are voting this or that way. And I think this is a very dangerous way of seeing things. It is arrogant, and it is only going to cause friction. It is only going to cause controversy and misunderstandings because, again, you don't try to see what the other person is genuinely interested in or sensitive about. And you have an attitude of my way or the highway, all or nothing. And all or nothing either means that you will impose your view through tyranny or that you will get nothing in the end. Either way, it won't be an outcome that is pleasant. And I think this again brings us back to the theme of this video, the idea of having integrity, the idea of commitment, of doing things long term, of the concomitant responsibility when you do that, and of the maturity involved. So you are not entitled, you don't have an inflated sense of self and sense of self-worth, and you are the best and everybody else is a fool. So all these qualities are, as I said, what make a person honorable. And honor in this regard is very important, I think, because people who don't have honor are people who will not be reliable, people that you cannot trust, people that will, either by ignorance or by self obsession, lead us down the wrong path, lead us to our calamity, to our demise. The person who has honor, the person who has integrity, is a person who won't say much and is a person who, when saying something, will say it with the recognition that they are limited, with the recognition that they may be wrong. And so they expect others to be open-minded and critical and to think things through and not just take everything at face value. This is the idea, folks. And I think what Confucius set out to do is worthwhile. Whether we agree or not with the specific points is beside the point. What matters is that we have to recognize that we have a social order which consists of individuals, and the society influences the individual and the individual influences the society. So there is this feedback loop. And if we don't have good individuals, we won't have a good collective. And for me personally, because I used to work in politics, this is something I learned the hard way. Because in politics, you have a lot of people of the sort who are radicals and basically talk nonsense, who have too high of an idea of themselves. There are people who are like, oh, I will change the world, but they are not the embodiment of that change. They don't actually live up to the standards that they want others to live by. And that is the kind of person you cannot trust. If you are saying something, I expect you to be doing it. I expect your deeds to do the talking. Otherwise, talk is cheap. You can say anything you want. And who says anything they want? The person who has no integrity. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care and goodbye for now.